us as black women, Paige reminds me a lot of like you say you're not really about me. You know, and she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also like she's good at basketball, obviously. Like she understands her privilege. And yeah.
Like Aisha Wilson is currently in the headlines. This is crazy. Did Wilson call out white privilege or take it too far? With 40% of sports fans following this drama, it's bigger than basketball. Stay tuned because this controversy just got bad, really bad. This all began with an old clip of A.A. Wilson that recently resurfaced. In the video, Wilson can be seen talking courtside with her teammate Kelsey Plum, discussing the role privilege plays in women's basketball. She mentioned how some players, while talented, benefit from their privilege to gain endorsements and media attention. Wilson didn't name names, but fans quickly connected the dots, believing her comments were aimed at Caitlin Clark, the Iowa sensation, who has taken women's basketball by storm. And just like that, the internet exploded. Now we already knew Caitlin Clark was definitely on her way out the door after her team released a statement pretty much confirming that Caitlin Clark will not be participating in this inaugural season of Unrivaled. Now, Clark, for those who don't know, is a powerhouse. She shattered records, led her team to historic wins, and become one of the most marketable names in sports. But
we already knew Caitlin Clark was definitely on her way out the door after her team released a statement pretty much confirming that Caitlin Clark will not be participating in this.
With fame comes scrutiny, and Wilson's remarks have opened a Pandora's box of questions about race, privilege, and fairness in sports. Fans of Clark argue that she's earned every bit of her success through hard work and talent. On the other hand, Wilson supporters believe she's simply pointing out a broader issue: the systemic inequities that still exist in sports today. Caitlin, get all the rest that you need so you can come out here and put the beats on teams in the 2025 season. Now, another talk of discussion was did Aisha Wilson actually participating in the Unrivaled League? Let's take a closer look at what Wilson said and why it's causing such an uproar. In the clip, she talked about how white privilege often gives certain
rest that you need so you can come out here and put the beats on teams in the 2025 season. Now, another talk of discussion was Aisha Wilson actually participating.
Players a leg up even when they are already talented. It wasn't just a casual comment. It was a critique of how the system works. Wilson, a two-time MVP and one of the most dominant players in the WNBA, knows firsthand how hard it is to succeed in a league that struggles for attention compared to the NBA. When someone like her speaks out, people listen, but not everyone liked what she had to say. Well, sources is confirming that Aisha Wilson will not be competing in the Unrivaled League, and they are giving good explanations to why, at least for the most part, because they believe that A.J. Wilson should have been paid more money than Caitlin Clark. Fans of Caitlin Clark.
Well, sources is confirming that Aisha Wilson will not be competing in the Unrivaled League, and they're giving good explanations to why, at least for the most part, because they believe that Aisha Wilson should have been paid more money than Caitlin
Clark. Were quick to defend her. They argued that Clark's achievements have nothing to do with privilege and everything to do with her incredible skill on the court. To them, Wilson's remarks felt like an attempt to diminish Clark's accomplishments. Social media became a battleground, with both sides passionately arguing their points. Some even accused Wilson of stirring up unnecessary drama, while others praised her for speaking the truth about an uncomfortable topic. But this isn't just about Wilson and Clark. It's about a much bigger conversation that women's basketball and sports in general has been avoiding for far too long. The issue of privilege, particularly racial privilege, is deeply ingrained in the fabric of sports. Black athletes, despite their immense talent and contributions, often have to work twice as hard to gain the same recognition as their white counterparts. Wilson's comments, while controversial, have forced this issue into the spotlight. Now we know Caitlin Clark is pretty much the face of the league. Now A.J. Wilson is the MVP of the league. We all know that she's the MVP, but whenever we're talking face who revolutionized this league, it wasn't Aisha Wilson, even though Aisha Wilson is the best women's basketball player.
We know Caitlin Clark is pretty much the face of the league. Now, Aisha Wilson is the MVP of the league. We all know that she's the MVP, but whenever we're talking face, who revolutionized this league? It wasn't Aisha Wilson. Even though Aisha Wilson is the best women's basketball player in the entire WNBA, yes, she is. I will give her that honor. But at the end of the day, she's no damn Kate.
In the entire WNBA, yes, she is. I will give her that honor. But at the end of the Today she's no damn Caitlin Clark, and then there's the role of the media in all of this. The way this story has been covered has only added fuel to the fire. Some outlets have painted Wilson as a bitter player trying to tear down Clark, while others have framed her as a courageous voice for racial equality. Social media has amplified these narratives, with fans taking sides and turning the debate into a full-blown culture war. Depending on where you get your news, you might see Wilson as a hero or a villain, but the truth, as always, is more complicated. Caitlin Clark, for her part, has handled the situation with grace. When asked about Wilson's comments, she didn't engage in the privilege debate directly. Instead, she focused on the bigger picture, saying that women's basketball needs to grow and create opportunities for all players. It was a smart move, allowing her to rise above the drama, while still addressing the importance of equality in the sport. But some critics feel Clark missed an opportunity to acknowledge the systemic advantages that have helped her rise to fame. Others, however, respect her decision to focus on unity rather than division. This controversy has also put a spotlight on how players are marketed. Wilson, despite being one of the WNBA's biggest stars, hasn't received the same level of mainstream recognition as Caitlin Clark. Clark, who is still early in her career, is already being positioned as the future of women's basketball. She's landed endorsement deals, gained a massive following, and even sparked comparisons to NBA legends. For Wilson and other black athletes, this disparity is a reminder of how race can influence who gets the spotlight and who doesn't. Take Nike, for example. Both Wilson and Clark are tied to the brand, but their experiences couldn't be more different. Wilson has her own signature shoe, but it hasn't made waves in the market. Meanwhile, Clark's upcoming shoe deal is already generating buzz. Even before its release, fans are accusing Nike of sidelining Wilson to promote Clark, and it's hard not to see the racial undertones in how these two athletes are being treated. But this isn't just about business, it's about respect. Wilson's comments weren't just a critique of the system, they were a plea for acknowledgement. She's put in the work, dominated the game, and proven herself time and again, yet she feels like she's not getting the recognition she deserves. And for many fans, this controversy is a stark reminder of how much work still needs to be done to create a level playing field. As this drama unfolds, it's clear that the conversation is far from over. Wilson and Clark might be the faces of this debate, but the issues they are highlighting go beyond individual players. They are about systemic inequities, media representation, and the future of women's basketball. Whether you're Team Wilson or Team Clark, there's no denying that this controversy has brought much needed attention to the sport. So what happens next? Will Wilson's remarks lead to meaningful change, or will they be dismissed as just another controversial soundbite? Will Clark continue to rise as a face of women's basketball, or will this debate complicate her legacy? One thing's for sure, the world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher as the fallout from Wilson's remarks continues to dominate conversations in sports circles. It's clear this isn't just a passing controversy. This debate has moved beyond Wilson and Clark, sparking larger conversations about privilege, race, and the dynamics of women's basketball. In Part 2, we'll dig deeper into the broader implications of this conflict and examine how it's reshaping the landscape of the sport. At its core, the controversy highlights how race and privilege intersect in sports, particularly in a league like the WNBA. For decades, black athletes have formed the backbone of women's basketball. Players like Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, and Candace Parker paved the way for today's stars. Yet the issue of unequal recognition persists. Wilson's comments, whether you agree with them or not, are forcing the sports world to confront an uncomfortable reality. Even in a predominantly black league, white athletes often receive disproportionate attention and opportunities